Good day everyone! Welcome to our Info Vlog.
For today's video, we are going to talk about the social, political, economic, and cultural issue in Philippine history.
And specifically, we will discuss the agrarian reform policies and the Philippine Constitution and taxation.
These topics are important because they help us understand how Philippine society and government developed throughout history.
So first, let's talk about the agrarian reform. When we say agrarian reform, these are laws and programs created to improve the distribution and management of land, especially for farmers.
Simulan natin sa panahon bago dumating ang mga Espanyol o ang pre-Spanish era. Noong unang panahon, ang lupa ay itinuturing na biyaya mula sa Diyos. Hindi pa uso noon ang pribadong pagmamay-ari ng malalawak na lupain. Sa halip, ang mga komunidad ay pantay-pantay na may akses sa lupa at sa likas na yaman. Ang pangunahing hanapbuhay ng mga tao ay pagsasaka, pangingisda at pangangalakan. Dahil wala pa sila sistema pera, gumagamit sila ng barter system o palitan ng produkto tulad ng bigas, gulay at iba pang kalakal. Makikita natin dito na simple lang ang sistema noon at mas nakatuon sa pagtutulungan ng komunidad.
Nagbago ang sistema ng lupa nang dumating ang mga Espanyol noong ika-16 na siglo. Ipinatupad nila ang encomienda system kung saan ang malalawak na lupain ay pinagkaloob sa mga Espanyol at tinatawag na encomienderos. Ang mga encomiendero ang nangongolekta ng tributo mula sa mga Pilipino at may kontrol sa mga lupang kanilang nasasakupan. Dahil dito, maraming magsasaka ang nawalan ng karapatan sa lupang kanilang sinasaka. Naging dahilan ito ng hindi pagkapantay-pantay sa lipunan at nagsimula ang problema sa land ownership na naging hamon hanggang sa mga sumunod na panahon.
Matapos ang pananakop ng mga dayuhan, sinubukan ng iba't ibang administrasyon na tugunan ang problema sa lupa sa pamamagitan ng agrarian reform. During the administration of President Ramon Magsaysay, several laws were created to help landless farmers. One of these was Republic Act No. 1160 or NARRA. It helped resettle landless farmers and former rebels. And next, the Republic Act No. 1199 protected tenants farmers through the Agricultural Tenancy Act. There was also Republic Act No. 1400 or the Land Reform Act and the Republic Act No. 821 which provided financial support for agriculture.
President Carlos P. Garcia continued the agrarian reform programs of Ramon Magsaysay. However, no new major agrarian reform laws were passed during his administration. During the administration of President Diosdado Macapagal, Republic Act No. 3844 or the Agricultural Land Reform Code was passed. This law removed the share of tenancy system. It aimed to provide equal opportunities and justice for farmers.
President Ferdinand Marcos also implemented agrarian reform policies, Republic Act No. 6389 and 6390, created the Department of Agrarian Reform or DAR. Presidential Decree No. 2 declared the country under land reform, and Presidential Decree No. 27 focused on rice and corn lands with 7-hectare retention limit. And under President Corazon Aquino, agrarian reform was strengthened through 1987 Constitution. Article 2, Section 21 states that the state shall promote agrarian reform and rural development. She also implemented Republic Act No. 6657 and the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law.
The Philippine Constitution is the highest law of the land that guides how the country is governed to protect the rights and freedom of citizens.
It shall maintain justice, equality, orders, and democracy by limiting the powers of the government to prevent abuse. The core purpose of Constitution: Number 1. Prescribe. It defines what type of government. Number 2. Create. It create government branches and duties. Number 3. Source of sovereign powers. It give powers to the government. Number 4. Public welfare. It protect people rights and welfare. The three type of Constitution. Measure ng Constitution effectiveness and kung nasusunod ang mga laws in society. Number 1. Normative Constitution. Fully followed by government citizen. Number 2. Nominal Constitution. Valid but not fully practiced. Number 3. Semantic Constitution. Used to maintain political control. The three components of the Constitution, they form a legal framework, democratic nation,
Government,
structure, and
power government,
liberty, protect citizen rights and freedom.
sovereignty, procedures,
For amending the Constitution.
Legislative Department, ito ang gumagawa, nagbabago at nag-aalis ng law through Congress, which has Senate and the House of Representatives. Senate, upper chamber with 24 senators elected nationwide. Serve 6 years terms. And the next one is the House of Representatives. Lower chamber with the district representatives from provinces, cities, and Metro Manila. And the next one is the party list system. Represents sectoral groups and components, 20% of House member. And now, pumunta naman tayo sa Executive Department. Ito yung pinamumunuan ng President na nagpapatupad ng law at namamahala sa ating government. And now, let's talk about the Vice President. Vice President is the same qualification and term as the President. Also can serve in the Cabinet. And last but not definitely the least, Judicial Department. It is interpret the Constitution and ensure the government's actions stay within the constitutional limit.
Now, gumako tayo sa Constitution. Pero before I will discuss the fourth Constitution, a little fun fact of our Constitution. Did you guys know that our Constitution have a 7th part, a 7 documented Constitution in our history? Ano nga ba ang tatlo pang missing Constitution? The first missing Constitution is the 1897 Biak na Bato Constitution. This is about a revolutionary force ni Emilio Aguinaldo. Pero bakit nga ba hindi siya na-consider as a major constitution ng ating Pilipinas? This is only not intended to be a permanent, but only for the wartime of the Philippines during the Spanish era. The second constitution is the 1943 Constitution, or also known the Japanese Constitution. This constitution is about the legal framework for the Second Philippine Republic in Japanese occupation. Pero bakit nga ba hindi siya na-consider as the major constitution ng Pilipinas? This constitution is drafted under duress during the Japanese occupation in World War II. The next third missing constitution is the 1986 Constitution, or also known as the Freedom Constitution. This constitution is declared by the President Corazon Aquino after niya mapatay si President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Pero bakit nga ba hindi siya na-consider as the major constitution? This constitution is only for temporary while working for the formal constitution.
At alam niyo ba, sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, nagsimula ito noong 1899, di Malalas Constitution, ang first Republican Constitution sa Asia, at nagsimbolo ito ng kalayaan at ang pagkakaroon ng sariling gobyerno. At ito ay kinanglan ng 1935 Constitution or the Commonwealth Constitution. Dito sa Constitution na to is nagpatatag ng presidential system at nagtatag rin sila ng Bill of Rights para maprotektahan ang mga mamamayan. At nung panahon naman ni Ferdinand Marcos Sr. na itupad ang 1973 Constitution, nakaugnayan ng martial law at maraming issue ang nangyari sa human rights. Now, let's proceed for the three missing constitution. First of here is the 1897 Biak na Bato Constitution. This constitution is about the revolutionary force Emilio Aguinaldo. Next is the 1943 Japanese occupation. This is the legal framework for the Second Philippine Republic during the Japanese occupation.
At ang panghuli, ang 1987 Constitution na kasalukuyang ginagamit natin. At kilala rin ito sa tawag na Freedom Constitution dahil ginawa ito pagkatapos ng People Power Revolution upang maibalik ang demokrasya at maiwasan ang dictatorship. At sa loob ng Constitution na ito, we have as 18 article. Sa kabuuan, mahalaga po rin ang Constitution dahil konektado ito sa mga current issue tulad ngayon, like the corruption, the abuse of power, the misinformation, at charter change or CHACHA. Pinaprotektahan din nito ang karapatan ng mga Pilipino at tumutulong para mapanatili ng maayos at makatarungan ang pamahalaan. Tinitiyak din nito ang gobyerno ay sumusunod sa batas at hindi umaabuso ng kanilang mga kapangyarihan.
Ang muling paksa natin ay tungkol sa taxation. Ang taxation ay kapangyarihan ng Estado, mangolekta ng kontribusyon mula sa mamamayan upang pondohan ang serbisyo at pangangailangan ng gobyerno. Noong panahon bago dumating ang mananakop, Ang kontribusyon ay kadalasan nasa anyo ng paggawa o pagbahagi ng ani. Sa panahon ng Espanyol, pinatupad ang contribute system at sedula. Sa panahon ng mga Amerikano, hanggang sa kasalukuyan, naging organisasyon at sistematiko ang pangungulekta ng buwis. Sa ngayon, ang buwis ang pangunahing pinagkukuhanan ng pondo ang pamahalaan.
Ayon sa Article 6 ng Constitution, ang Kongreso ang may kapangyarihang gumawa ng mga batas ukol sa pagbubuwis. Lahat ng tax bills ay dapat magmula sa House of Representatives. Mahalaga rin na ang buwis ay ginagamit para sa pampublikong kapakanan.
Sa social aspect, ang buwis ay ginagamit para sa edukasyon, kalusugan at iba pang serbisyong panlipunan. Sa political aspect, ang mga mambabatas ang nagdedesisyon kung paano buuin ng mga pulisya tungkol sa buwis. Sa ilalim naman ng Article 7, ang Pangulo ang responsable sa pagpapatupad ng mga batas sa pagbubuwis. Pinangangasawaan niya ang mga ahensya tulad ng Bureau of International Revenue o BIR. May kapangyarihan din siyang aprobahan o ibeto ang mga tax-related bills.
Ang Judicial Department naman ang nagbibigay interpretasyon sa mga batas ukol sa pagbubuwis. Ang Korte Suprema ang nagdidesisyon kung naayon sa Constitution ang isang tax law.
Before we end this video, let us answer the question, what is the significance of studying history? Studying history is important because it helps us understand the events that shapes our country and society. It teaches us valuable lessons from the past, help us appreciate our culture and heritage, and inspire us to become responsible citizens.
Thank you for watching our info vlog. Please like and subscribe.